A very warm welcome to all of you. Myself, Dr. Bharti, Principal, Faculty of Physiotherapy, RPIIT Campus, Karnal. Today, we will be going to learn about the cerebellum. What is cerebellum and where it is located? Cerebellum is known as, in Latin language, it is known as little brain. It is a part of the hindbrain situated at the posterior cranial fossa. It is situated behind the pons medulla oblongata, which is the extension of the spinal cord that separates it by two structures with the cavity of the fourth ventricle. As the cerebellum is remembered by the mnemonic, that is three lobes, means cerebellum has in three lobes, three fissures, three layers, three fibers, three peduncles and three functional divisions, and they have three arteries, that is anterior cerebellar artery, middle cerebellar artery and posterior cerebellar artery. So main part of the cerebellum is basically divided into two parts, that is two cerebellar hemisphere. That is two cerebellar hemisphere, one on the left side, one on the right side, and another part is the vermis, that is the yellowish part. And cerebellum is divided, means part of the cerebellums are divided by three fissures, that are primary fissures, horizontal fissures and the posterior fissure, and they have three lobes, that is anterior lobe, posterior lobe and the flocculonodular lobe. Now horizontal fissure separates the superior surface from the inferior surface. This is the superior surface and this is the inferior surface. Horizontal fissure separates the superior surface from the inferior surface, and primary fissure separates the anterior surface, anterior lobe from the posterior lobe, and the posterolateral surface separates the posterior lobe from the flocculonodular lobe, and another part is vermis, that is the upper part of the cerebellum. Now we come to that cerebellar cortex. As we are told by the mnemonics, cerebellum can be remembered by the word mnemonics, that is three layers. Cerebellar cortex has in three layers. First is the molecular layer, that is the outermost layer. Second one or the middle layer is the Purkinje cell layer, that is the middle part of the cerebellar cortex. And third and the inner layer is the granular layer, which contain so many granular cells, Golgi cells and Mosey fibers. Now, what are that functional and phylogenetic subdivisions? The cerebellum is divided by three parts, that is that green one is known as that is the vestibular cerebellum, also known as archicerebellum, that is the functional division of the cerebellum, and that pink part is known as spinocerebellum, that is known as paleocerebellum, and that sky part, that is the middle part, is known as that is spinocerebellum or the paleocerebellum. That is the green part is known as vestibular cerebellum. Green part is vestibular cerebellum, and then spinocerebellum and the cerebrocerebellum. Another name is that functionally it is known as archicerebellum, then it is known as paleocerebellum, and then it is known as neocerebellum. Then functions that are coordinated by the cerebellums are different functions which are regulated by the different structures. So that pink part is known as spinocerebellum. That tone, coordination of the voluntary movements or the motor skill movements can be controlled by that spinocerebellum part of the cerebellum. And the part that are planned, what to do, that is planning of the voluntary activities, can be done by the cerebellum. Now third part is the maintenance of balance, and the control or coordination of the balance can be done by the vestibulocerebellar part. So that all are the function of that cerebellum. Hope you can understand and must understood about the layers, lobes and different fissures of the cerebellum. Thank you so much.